Chapter 14. What is your record keeping for talks and topics? Make history or be a part of it. Phil Knight. As you travel and speak, you will have the opportunity to share talks in a variety of places, sometimes returning to the same venue multiple times. It's great flattery to hear, "Tim, that was great. Can we have you again next year?" I love that. It's such a compliment, but such pressure. I've got to come back and deliver something better. And then I remind myself that there's prayer and practice before I perform again. So how do you keep track of where you've spoken, the talks you've given, and maybe even how well you did? Personally, I utilize a very simple function on my iPhone. I create a contact. That's right, a contact for each year. 2020 is a contact, and the company name reads 2020 Speaking. Then in the notes field, I write every event date by year, month, and day. For example, 2020-01-12. I'll never forget January 12, 2020. I spoke for 3 services at First Baptist Church, Wintergarten. Why? That was the 10th anniversary of the historic Haiti earthquake. I was in Haiti the day of the earthquake, with my wife and with several team members from that church. So we had a special 10th anniversary service where we talked about the unfortunate events that unfolded during that 7.0 earthquake. For that event, I added to the notes field of my 2020 contact by putting the date, the name of the host, Tim Grossands, and the name of the venue, First Baptist Church, Wintergarten. Then I put the title of the talk. Since that event was an interview, I put what the interview was about in parentheses. Haiti earthquake. The next event in the notes field is 2020-01-15. And then one event after is listed after that. I can go back as far as 2017 and look at the history of speaking engagements across the country. I can see where I was, when, and with whom, and the title of my talk. It helps me see in detail all the places I've been and all the talks I've given. Let me take it one step further and talk about how I record the results from each event. I also create a contact for the person who invited me to speak, or who served as my host at the venue. Although I typically already have it in my phone, for example, let's say Charles Michael is my contact person for an event. Charles Michael is a contact on my phone. And in his note field, I'll put the year, month, and day of my talk. I'll also put the title and then a grade for myself based on how the talk went that day. When it comes to grading myself, I like to evaluate from 3 perspectives: myself, the host, and the audience. So I give myself a grade. Did I feel authentic? That's my single question. It's a yes or no answer. Thankfully, most venues record my talks. So I'll go back and listen to them. I'll study the video. That's one way I improve. Plus, I have a permanent archive because the talks are typically saved on their website, YouTube, and sometimes Vimeo. The second grade is from the perspective of the organizer or host. The question I'm answering here is simply this: were they happy? Yes or no? I actually asked them this question. And if they're not happy, if they had questions or suggested tweaks, then I make specific notations about that. I consider the event organizer or host as the buyer. Technically, they're the decision maker. They get to say, "We're glad you're here," or "Hey, we'd like to have you come back again." I want to know for certain if they were happy with my talk. Then there's the perspective of the audience. What did the audience think about my talk? And how do you find out what they think? It's simply through conversations after the event. Most of my speaking engagements are at churches where after the service I can stand in the foyer and meet people at the information table. Whenever anyone says, "I really enjoyed your message today," I ask that audience member this question: what did you enjoy most? I want to hear what stood out to them. Now you may think that's a biased question. I could have asked them what they did not like. But typically, the people who didn't like your talk won't stop and say something. They're just going to walk out. It's the person who did enjoy your talk who often stops and pays you a compliment. Why not use that as a moment of research? My goal as a communicator is to be authentic and memorable, to deliver an idea that the audience can clearly take away and apply to their lives to improve them. Do you know what happens when I ask an audience member, what did you enjoy most? They open up. They offer me a story about their life that relates to a story I shared from the stage. I'll have people say things like, "You were so transparent. I was kind of surprised that you admitted that." When I hear those kinds of comments, it reminds me that we are all the same. We're people on a journey trying to live and learn how to do life better together. I've learned a system for record keeping, and I hope it helps to better your speaking career. Remember, simply use your smartphone. Create a contact for the year and use the notes field to specify the date, contact, and place for your event. Then go back and give yourself grades. Also, recording feedback. Feedback you receive from people about what they enjoyed the most from your talk. There was a lot of joy in keeping track of all of this. You get to look back over the year and say, wow, I got to visit those states and those cities and share those ideas. It's encouraging. It reminds me that being a public speaker really is a calling. It's a purpose. We're making a difference in the lives of others.